Jury back in?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, let's go ahead and bring him back in. Take. Please be seated. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And while you're getting settled, I'm going to ask you my questions. If your answer is yes, please raise your hand. During the lunch recess, did any of you have any discussions amongst yourselves or with anybody else about the case? No. No hands are being raised. Did any of you read or listen to any radio, television, or newspaper reports about the case? No. No hands are being raised. Did any of you use any electronic devices to get on the internet to do independent research about the case, people, places, things, or terminology? No. No hands are being raised. And finally, did any of you read or create any emails, text messages, Twitters, tweets, blogs, or social networking pages about the case? No. No hands are being raised. Mr. Guy, is it your next witness? Please call your next witness.
Sergeant Anthony Raimondo.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir. If you'd please tell the members of the jury your name.
My name's Anthony E. Raimondo, S-R-A-I-M-O-N-D-O, and I'm a junior.
Where are you employed?
I work for the city of Sanford, sir.
And in what capacity?
I'm a police sergeant.
With Sanford Police Department.
Yes, sir.
For how long?
I've been there for 14 years, sir.
All right. And your current position is what?
I'm the training coordinator for the police department.
And what are your duties in that position?
I coordinate all the advanced and specialized training. I also handle the mandatory retraining and general instruction, sir.
Can you give the jury an idea of what specific areas you train in?
Well, I'm certified to teach general topics, but I'm also a high liability instructor, which means I teach firearms, use of force, defensive tactics, and driving, things like that, sir.
Are you also a member of the Sanford Police Department SWAT unit?
It's the Seminole County SWAT team, sir.
And how long have you been in that unit?
I've been on the tactical teams for about 12 years, sir.
All right. In your duties, do you have a specific duty on the tactical team or the SWAT unit?
Yes, sir, I do.
What is that?
I'm one of the police snipers, sir.
In February of 2012, what was your position with the Sanford Police Department?
I was a police sergeant on patrol, sir.
And what were your duties as a patrol sergeant?
I co-supervised a squad of approximately 14 police officers, sir.
And in total, how long have you been a sergeant with Sanford PD?
I was promoted to sergeant in 2004, so 9 years as a sergeant, sir.
All right. And can you give the members of the jury an idea of the other positions you've held with the Sanford Police Department?
I've touched pretty much every section. I started out in patrol like everybody does. I went into field training. I worked in the K-9 unit. I worked in the special tactical unit, the undercover drug unit, the uniform drug unit, the street crimes unit, professional standards section, and of course now I'm in training, sir.
All right. Do you have any prior law enforcement experience?
Yes, sir, I do.
And where was that and from when to when?
I worked for the City of Bunnell Police Department from 1996 to 1999, sir.
Do you have any prior military experience?
Yes, sir, I do.
And what was that?
I'm a veteran of the United States Marine Corps, sir.
And how long you were in the Marine Corps?
I was in the Marine Corps for 9 years, sir.
All right. What is your educational background?
I have a Master of Science degree in criminal justice, and my undergraduate work was criminology and law enforcement technology. I'm also a graduate of the Command Officers Development Course through the University of Louisville, sir.
All right. If you could estimate for the jury, please, the approximate number of times in your law enforcement career that you have responded to the scene of a shooting.
Quite a few, sir.
Would it be in the hundreds?
To actual shootings or shots fired call, what specifically do you mean, sir?
Shots fired.
Hundreds of times, sir.
All right. Let me turn your attention then, please, to the evening of Sunday, February 26, 2012. Were you working as a patrol sergeant at that time?
Yes, sir, I was.
And on that evening, did you respond to the scene of a shooting at the retreat at Twin Lakes Housing Complex?
Yes, sir, I did.
And tell the members of the jury how you were notified of that call.
I heard a radio transmission, sir.
What was the nature of the transmission?
A suspicious person call, sir.
Was that transmission updated?
Yes, sir, it was.
How so?
It became a disturbance, sir.
And were there any further updates after it went from suspicious person to disturbance?
Yes, sir.
And what was that?
That the subjects were armed and that shots were fired, sir.
What area of town were you in when you received the first dispatch?
The west side of the city, sir.
All right. And about how far is that from the retreat at Twin Lakes complex?
I remember being in the area of St. John's Parkway and Reinhardt when the call came out, sir. So it was within a couple miles.
All right. And how long did it take you to get to the scene?
It was very quickly, sir.
Within 5 minutes?
Yes, sir, I'd say so.
All right. From your experience, did you know where that complex, the retreat at Twin Lakes, was located?
Yes, sir.
And how did you know where to go when you entered the complex itself?
When I went through the gate, I radioed Officer Smith, who was already on scene, and I asked him which way I should go, whether it was left or right.
All right. And did he give you directions?
Yes, sir, he did.
All right. Your Honor, could you dim the lights, please? And may I approach the witness?
Yes, you may.
Sergeant, I'm going to give you a laser light. Works by pressing that button. Do you recognize State's Exhibit 2?
Give me just a second, sir. Yes, sir, I've got it.
All right. Is the retreat at Twin Lakes complex located on that exhibit?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right. Can you circle that with your laser as best you can?
It's this area right here, sir.
All right. And Reinhardt Road, do you see that on the aerial?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right. Can you show the members of the jury where that is?
It's this road running right here, sir.
All right. And just give the jurors an idea, if you would, of the route that you took to get to the complex first.
The intersection I was speaking of would be at the very top of the screen. So what I did was I came south on Reinhardt Road. I turned east onto Oregon Avenue here, I believe it is, and into the complex, sir.
All right. Let me show you State's Exhibit 1. Do you recognize that as a aerial of the retreat at Twin Lakes complex?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right. If you'd show the jury then the route that you took when you got into the complex and where you parked.
The gate is here, sir. This is where I asked, should I go left or right? I was told to go left. I went here to a 90-degree bend in the road so that I started traveling south. I stopped right where the laser pointer is, and I angled my car up under the grass, sir.
And what was the purpose of angling your car up on the grass?
As I rounded that first turn, I saw Officer Tim Smith and someone else standing between the buildings, sir.
All right. And what was the lighting like in that area?
Very poor, sir.
All right. And what did you do anything with your car to aid in the lighting?
I pulled my car in and angled it towards Officer Smith and the male that was standing with him, sir.
And did your headlights then illuminate Officer Smith and the subject he was with?
It was better, sir, but lighting was still poor.
All right. When you got out of your car, did you go over to the area where Officer Smith was?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. Were there any street lights or poles in that area, or pole lights in that area?
I don't remember seeing any pole lights, sir.
All right. Can you show the members of the jury with your laser pointer where approximately Officer Smith was?
My car would have been here, and Officer Smith and the male would have been standing somewhere here near this T intersection, right where the laser pointer is now, sir.
All right. What was the weather like that evening?
It was drizzling, sir.
All right. Had it been raining off and on prior to your dispatch?
Yes, sir.
The person that was with Officer Smith, did you get an opportunity, let me ask you this, did you know the person?
No, sir.
All right, did you later learn his name to be George Zimmerman?
Yes, sir.
All right, did you see that person in court this afternoon?
Yes, sir.
Can you identify where he's sitting, what he's wearing?
Mr. Zimmerman's at the defense table wearing, in this lighting, it looks like either a gray or light brown coat.
Is he
sir.
standing?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. Your Honor, I ask that the record reflect that the witnesses identify the defendant.
The record will so reflect.
Sergeant, did Officer Smith have the defendant handcuffed when you approached them?
Yes, sir.
And what did Officer Smith do with the defendant when you made contact with them?
I directed Officer Smith to place him into the patrol car, sir.
All right. Did you have any interaction with the defendant at that time?
No, sir.
Why not?
I had other things going on, sir.
And where is it that you went? What else did you do?
I looked to the south, sir, and I saw another officer, Officer Ricardo Ayala, standing over a body in the grass.
And did you go over to them?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. The person who was in the grass, did you later learn that person's name to be Trayvon Martin?
Yes, sir, I did.
Can you show the members of the jury where on the aerial approximately Trayvon Martin and Officer Ayala were located?
Somewhere right in this area, sir.
All right, and that would be south of the T area?
Yes, sir.
All right. How was Trayvon Martin's body positioned when you arrived?
Mr. Martin was lying face down with his head oriented generally towards the north and his hands underneath his body, sir.
All right, and as we look at State's Exhibit 1, is it correct as far as north and south? Would north be to the top and east to the right, et cetera?
Yes, sir.
All right. State's Exhibit 5, does that give obviously there's a flash in there, but does that give a general idea of the lighting conditions out there when you arrived?
Yes, sir.
And State's Exhibit 77, do you recognize that?
Yes, sir, I do.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the way Trayvon Martin's body was positioned when you approached it?
Yes, sir, it is.
Did you see any movement from Trayvon Martin's body as you approached him?
No, sir, I did not.
Did you hear any sounds coming from Trayvon Martin when you approached him?
No, sir, I did not.
Did you attempt to see if Trayvon Martin was still alive?
Yes, sir.
How did you do that?
I attempted to get his pulse, sir.
And where did you attempt to take his pulse from?
On his neck, sir.
Have you had training in that?
Yes, sir, I have.
All right. Did you detect a pulse on Trayvon Martin?
No, sir, I did not.
Did you or Officer Ayala move Trayvon Martin's body after you failed to get a pulse?
Yes, sir.
How did you do that?
With the assistance of Officer Ayala, I rolled Mr. Martin's body over onto his back. Generally I would describe it as west to east, or maybe it's easier to say, sir, that I rolled him onto his left shoulder and onto his back.
Okay, so as we're looking at State 77, you would have rolled him from left to right?
Yes, sir. From the left side of the screen towards the right side of the screen.
Yes, sir. After you rolled his body over onto his back, did you again try to get a pulse?
Yes, sir, I did.
How did you do that?
Same carotid area, sir.
And were you able to get a pulse?
No, sir, I was not.
All right. What did you do next?
I breathed for Mr. Martin, or I tried to, sir.
In a CPR technique,
Yes, sir.
do you have training in CPR?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right. And what was your role in that, the CPR attempts on Trayvon Martin?
I was doing breaths, sir.
Did you use any type of mask when you first started CPR with Trayvon Martin?
No, sir, I did not.
Why not?
I did not have it available, sir.
Do your standing operating procedures address whether or not you should use a mask when performing something like CPR on a victim?
Yes, sir.
And what do those standing operating procedures hold?
Our SOP requires that I use universal precautions, which in this case is the mask you're talking about, sir, unless the situations, or I personally decline to do so because the situations are what I consider to be rare and extraordinary.
All right. And did you consider this to be an extraordinary circumstance?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. And is that why you put your mouth on Trayvon Martin's mouth to try to breathe for him?
Yes, sir.
Did you later ask for and receive a breathing mask?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did Officer Ayala assist you in performing CPR on Trayvon Martin?
Yes, sir.
And what was Officer Ayala's role?
Initially, he was doing compressions, sir.
Did you hear anything when you were performing CPR on Trayvon Martin?
Yes, sir.
What was that?
Bubbling sound, sir.
And what did those bubbling sounds indicate to you?
It meant that either air was getting into or escaping from the chest in a manner that it was not supposed to, sir.
All right. And what did you do upon hearing those bubbling sounds from Trayvon Martin's chest?
I called out to the crowd that was gathering nearby, and I asked for saran wrap and Vaseline, sir.
And what would be the purpose of saran wrap and Vaseline?
I was going to try to seal the chest wound, sir.
Did anybody respond to your request?
Yes, sir.
Was that a civilian?
Yes, sir.
All right. Can you describe that person at all?
Yes, sir.
How's that?
I would describe him as an Asian male, sir.
Did you ever get that person's name?
No, sir.
And what did the Asian male give to you to assist?
He gave me a plastic grocery bag, sir.
You recall what color it was?
I don't, sir.
What did you do after you were given the grocery bag?
I made the decision to try to seal the exit wound first, sir.
And what steps did you take in that regard?
I lifted Mr. Martin's body into a seated position by placing my right hand behind his head and my left hand in his midsection, and with the assistance of Officer Ayala, raised him to a seated position, sir.
And why were you looking for an exit wound?
It wouldn't have done any good for me to seal the chest wound if I didn't seal the exit wound as well, sir, so I decided to start there.
When you and Officer Ayala sat Trayvon Martin up, did you feel anything in Trayvon Martin's clothing?
Yes, sir.
What was that?
I felt a cold can, sir,
And where did you feel the cold can?
in his jersey pocket, sir.
Did the can feel empty or full?
It felt full, sir.
And when you say jersey pocket, describe that for the jury, what you mean.
Like a sweatshirt where you would put your hands into a pocket in the front, sir.
In the center?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you know whether or not the can that you felt, do you know whether or not that was in a bag when you felt it?
I do not know, sir.
Did you examine the can in any fashion or remove it from his sweatshirt?
No, sir.
Why not?
It just wasn't on my list of priorities, sir.
All right. Did you find an exit wound to Trayvon Martin's body when you sat him up and searched for one?
No, sir, I did not.
So what did you do next?
I laid him back down on his back, sir.
Did you continue CPR after you laid him down?
Yes, sir, I did.
And was rescue called to that scene?
Yes, sir.
Did they respond?
Yes, sir.
All right. And did rescue take over the CPR efforts after they arrived?
Yes, sir.
What did you see the rescue personnel do to treat or assess Trayvon Martin?
I watched them hook up the leads of the EKG machine to Mr. Martin, sir.
All right. And was Trayvon Martin pronounced dead by rescue at the scene?
Yes, sir.
Were you present for that?
Yes, sir.
After Trayvon Martin was pronounced dead, did you or anyone else put anything over his body?
Yes, sir.
And what was that?
I put an emergency blanket over Mr. Martin's body, sir.
And what was the purpose of that?
Well, one, it was respect for the deceased. Two, is to mitigate trauma that witnesses or family members may be exposed to if they arrived on scene. And then three was to preserve any physical evidence on the body, sir.
And when you say to preserve any physical evidence, do you mean in part because of the weather conditions?
Yes, sir.
It was still raining at the time?
Yes, sir.
When you placed the blanket over Trayvon Martin's body, did you move any evidence, to your knowledge, surrounding his body?
Not that I know of, sir.
All right. And while you were at the scene, did you collect or move any evidence yourself?
No, sir.
And why not?
Wasn't my job, sir.
All right. Your Honor, if I could ask that the lights be dimmed one more time. I have a couple of additional photographs. Thank you, Your Honor. State's Exhibit 20, do you recognize that?
Yes, sir, I do.
What do you recognize that to be?
That's Mr. Martin's body, sir.
And is that in the way it appeared after he was pronounced dead in your efforts and Officer Ayala's efforts at CPR?
Yes, sir.
Sergeant, I'm going to circle an object up here on the left hand of the screen with my red laser. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
It's a CPR mask, sir.
All right, is that the mask we referred to earlier that you were later provided when performing CPR?
Yes, sir, it is.
States 21, do you recognize that?
Yes, sir, I do.
And is that a close-up shot of Trayvon Martin,
Yes, sir, it is.
particularly his face?
Yes, sir.
Again, in the top left-hand corner, is that the breathing mask that you referred to earlier?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right. States 28, do you recognize that?
Yes, sir, I do.
And what is that?
It's a gunshot wound, sir.
And States 6, do you recognize that?
It's definitely a picture of the retreat at Ten Lakes, sir. It looks like it's, the orientation is towards the south, sir.
All right. Can you see, despite the rain, can you see the blanket that was covering Trayvon Martin's body in that photograph?
Yeah, I've got it now, sir. I see it.
All right. Would you circle it with your laser pointer? And you're circling an area that's actually behind a raindrop.
That's correct, sir.
Okay. And then State 7, do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
In that photograph, does the blanket in Trayvon Martin's body underneath appear?
Yes, sir.
And again, would you circle that just for the members of the jury? All right. States number 17, do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
Is that how Trayvon Martin's body appeared after you placed the medical blanket on top of it?
Yes, sir.
And States 13. There's an evidence marker 3. Does that appear to be like the type of grocery bag or the grocery bag that you received from the Asian male to seal the wound?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, you may raise the lights. Thank you. Sergeant Raimondo, did you have any further contact or involvement with the defendant after Trayvon Martin was pronounced dead?
No, sir.
And due to the nature of the call, a gunshot involving a death, were other units called to the scene, such as investigators and crime scene technicians?
Yes, sir.
And did those people respond to the scene?
Yes, sir.
When they responded, did they take over the investigation of the case?
Yes, sir.
And is that standard procedure in a case involving a death?
Yes, sir.
Did that essentially end your involvement with the case?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Cross.
Thank you. I may want to address some of these United Students here, or if I want to use it, just use yours. Afternoon, officer. How are you?
Good, sir. How are you?
Doing well. You've been involved in law enforcement, did you say 14 years?
17 years total,
17?
sir.
And before that was Marine Corps?
Yes, sir.
So yours has been then a life of service since you were late teen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And in the Marine Corps, did you involve yourself in any military police?
No, sir.
Okay. Started law enforcement then after you came out of the Marine Corps?
Yes, sir.
And tell me again what you did in order to prepare to become a cop?
I attended the police academy, sir, and I continued with my professional development, and then my academic studies, sir.
I understand your academic studies included getting a degree in criminology.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Why did you want to become a cop?
I come from a family of law enforcement officers, sir.
Okay. Any other reason personally why you want to become a law enforcement officer?
Yeah, I think that we all want to make a difference in our communities, sir.
How do you make that difference?
I think that you do what you can, when you can, and you just try to influence the audience that you have in front of you.
Has that been rewarding for you?
Very rewarding, sir.
Enjoy doing what you do?
Very much, sir.
I know that there have been, well, with lawyers more than cops, so I'll start with that, but that there are times when you're not as respected as a profession as others might think you should be. Have you heard of those concerns about law enforcement?
I'm sorry, sir. Could you repeat the question?
Sure. I just didn't know if you had any experience with people not respecting law enforcement as much as you think they should.
I'm just going to interpose a relevance objection.
What's the relevance?
I'm just talking about his history and law enforcement experience for 17 years, being in the Marine Corps. I think it's relevant to see how he's devoted his life as a police officer.
Well, you've already asked that. The question that you've asked that's been objected to is sustained.
Thank you. Intend to continue being a cop, I presume, yes?
I hope so, sir.
Okay. Just to take a moment, if I can work this right, to go back. Your Honor, if you might, dim the lights, please. Start here. I think you've identified the location of Retreat View, correct? And if
Yes,
you would,
sir.
just again, if we're looking at that, if you could then identify what that complex is just to the, for record purposes, we're looking at State's Exhibit 2, the complex as we're looking at the photograph to the left.
Are you talking about here, sir?
Yes, sir. Are you familiar with that subdivision?
I want to say that it's maybe Colonial Town Park. I'm
Colonial?
not sure, sir.
Yes. And what is that?
It's another housing complex, sir.
Okay. Now going a little bit further to the left of that, if you would, that little area that looks almost like it has a couple of ponds in it. Do you know what that is?
I'm not sure we're looking at the same spot, sir. Where, are you talking about in here, sir?
Yes, sir. Is that yet another complex?
Yes, they've changed the name of it, sir, and I don't know what the name change is, but yes, sir, it is another housing area.
Okay. Now let's go to the far left where that little yellow push pin marker is. Do you know that to be the area where the 7-Eleven is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if you were driving a car from the 7-Eleven back to Retreat View Circle, which way would you go?
I would go north on Reinhardt, and then I would go east on Oregon, sir.
Would you mind just tracking that with your laser?
I would go north on Reinhardt, and then east on Oregon into the retreat at Twin Lakes, sir.
And if you were walking and wanted to take the quickest route, which way would you go?
I really don't know what the pedestrian areas in that particular area are, sir. So not knowing that, I would probably take the same route on foot.
Okay. Let's focus then your attention to that second subdivision, Colonial, that we talked about. If you would put the laser just right there, and right above that, that one looks like right above it, it looks like a path right there.
Yes, sir.
Do you know that to be a walking path through that area?
I don't know it to be a walking path, sir.
Thank you. And again, this is Retreat View area itself, right?
Yes, sir.
Retreat at Twin Lakes. And I think you identified that you came in what is on the top and sort of came around. Thank you. Now, this is a picture you identified as sort of showing the lighting conditions that night, correct?
Yes, sir.
State's Exhibit 5. Of course, this photograph is even a touch lighter in the foreground because it has the flash activated, does it not?
Yes, sir. I would agree with that.
So it would actually be as dark in the foreground as it is in the background, but for the flash?
Yes, sir.
And that was the conditions when you got there on scene just moments after the event?
Yes, sir.
Similarly with this, we can see Trayvon Martin's body only because it is illuminated with a flashlight?
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, would the body be in a similar darkness as the area outside the focus of the flashlight?
Yes, sir.
Now, this was the condition and the positioning of the body precisely as it was when you first saw it, correct?
Yes, sir. It looks very similar.
It had not been moved yet, correct?
Sir, I don't know when that picture was taken.
Okay, well, let me ask it this way. It was you and Officer Ayala who actually turned the body over for CPR purposes, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the feet and the location of the feet, that was the position they were in when you came upon the body?
I really don't know, sir. I mean, Could you be more specific?
I'm just curious, I thought you testified earlier that when you reviewed State's Exhibit 76, you stated that that was the exact position the body was in when you came upon
Yeah,
it.
that is how the body appeared to me when I arrived, sir. I didn't make note of the position of the feet exactly.
Yes, sir. Did you get any information from any other law enforcement officer that the body had been moved at all?
No, sir.
And you were the first person, along with Officer Ayala, to actually move it for CPR purposes?
Yes, sir.
And I think you testified that when you came upon Trayvon Martin's body, you did not hear or get a pulse whatsoever?
No, sir.
As best you can tell at that point, he was already deceased?
I'm not qualified to call him deceased, sir, but definitely in need of services.
And this was the body as it was after the attempt at CPR?
Yes, sir.
As we look at the upper clothing part, is that the pouch area in the front was now on his waist that you found what you said was a cold can in?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it was actually inside that pouch?
Yes, sir.
And I think you identified this as a gunshot wound. Did you actually view this gunshot wound
Yes, sir.
on the body?
Yes, sir.
Looking for the area to cover up, and I think you said because there was air escaping,
Yes, sir.
necessary for proper CPR.
Yes, sir.
Similarly, this is a picture with the yellow blanket in the distance, but also a photograph which, without the flash, would have been much darker, correct?
Yes, sir.
The entire area back then was as dark as it is in the background?
Yes, sir.
Similar with this as well?
Yes, sir.
And again, we're looking at State's Exhibit 7. Thank you, Your Honor. Do you know how long Trayvon Martin's body was exposed to the rain before you covered it with a blanket?
No, sir, I don't.
Can you give us an approximation,
Yes, sir, I could.
if you would?
I would estimate it was probably 15 minutes, sir.
Okay. If I might have just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes, okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. No other questions?
Thank
And I
you.
may have misspoke, I may have identified an exhibit as 76 when it was 77, just for record purposes.
Okay, thank you very much. Any redirect?
Just very briefly. Sergeant, addressing that approximate 15-minute period when you arrived until the time that Trayvon Martin's body was covered by you with the blanket, can you describe for the jury the nature or intensity of the rainfall? Was it a light rain? Was it a driving rain, a downpour, or what?
As I recall, sir, it was just drizzling.
Thank you, sir. No, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. May Sergeant Raimondo be excused?
He may.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you very much. You may be excused. Please call your next witness.
Diana Smith.
you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, ma'am. If you please tell the members of the jury your name.
Diana Smith
And how are you employed?
with the Sanford Police Department.
And how long have you been with the Sanford Police Department?
A little over 6 years.
And your position with the police department is what?
I'm a crime scene technician.
And can you describe for the jury what are your duties and responsibilities as a crime scene technician?
I respond to crime scenes to document, photograph, collect, and preserve evidence.
And how long have you been a crime scene detective or technician with the Sanford Police Department?
Almost 6 years.
All right. And what was your position before becoming a crime scene technician?
I was an evidence technician.
All right. And tell them what an evidence technician does.
They transport, intake, and inventory evidence.
Can you give the jury a brief summary of your training and education that you've completed to prepare you for your duties as a crime scene technician?
On-the-job training. I also have certifications in crime scene processing, crime scene response, reconstruction of shooting incidences, DNA analysis, death investigation, and blood pattern analysis.
All right. Do you also attend continuing education courses to stay current in the field of crime scene investigations?
Yes, I do.
Can you estimate for the jury, please, the approximate number of scenes that you've processed in your 5+ years as a crime scene technician?
It's been about a few hundred.
Incidentally, are you related to a Sanford Police Department patrol officer named Tim Smith?
Yes, I am.
How so?
He's my husband.
Do you and Officer Smith, Officer Tim Smith, occasionally have the opportunity to respond to the same calls?
Yes, we do.
And how does that happen?
My on-call rotation sometimes lands on his rotation.
All right. Let me turn your attention then, please, to the evening of Sunday, February 26, 2012. Were you working on that evening?
Yes, I was.
And on that evening, did you respond to the scene of a shooting at the Retreat at Twin Lakes complex?
Yes, I did.
Is that located here in Sanford, Seminole County, Florida?
Yes, it is.
And approximately what time did you arrive on the scene?
About 7:55 p.m.
Had the scene been taped off and secured by patrol officers when you arrived?
Yes, it was.
And what were the weather conditions like when you arrived?
We were experiencing intermediate showers.
Had it been raining prior to your arrival at the scene?
Yes, it had.
When you arrived at the scene, did you speak with Sanford Police Department patrol officers that had arrived before you?
Yes, I did.
And what is the purpose of that?
To brief me on the scene.
Was the victim's body still located at the scene when you arrived?
Yes, it was.
And did you later learn that person's name to be Trayvon Martin?
Yes, I did.
Did Trayvon Martin's body have a yellow medical blanket on top of it when you arrived?
Yes, it did.
Did you conduct a walkthrough of the scene?
Yes, I did.
And explain for the members of the jury, what is a walkthrough? What do you mean by that?
The officers that are briefing me on the scene would usually walk me through and point out any type of evidence or anything that they've noticed that I need to be aware of before I start working the scene.
Yeah, right, 7.
Yes, ma'am.
You did conduct a walkthrough in this case.
Yes, I did.
All right. After completing the walkthrough, what's the first thing you did as far as processing the scene?
Started my photographs.
And did you touch or move anything before you started your photography?
No, I did not.
And why do you start with photography?
So that I can present in my photographs the way the scene was presented to me.
Was it still raining when you were taking photographs?
Yes, it was.
And in fact, do some of your photographs capture the rain at the scene?
Yes, they do.
Do you photograph the scene in stages?
Yes, I do.
And explain to the jury what you mean by that.
My first photographs are overalls using no markers, and then I go back in and get closer with markers.
And tell them what you mean by markers.
Object markers, usually with a number or a letter.
And what are the purpose of placing markers by items of evidence?
In relevance to photographing the location to one another.
All right. Did you later collect the items that you identified with the markers?
Yes, I did.
All right. Did you measure the scene and the items within the scene prior to the collection of those items?
Yes, I did.
Did you create a diagram of the scene to document the location of the physical evidence relative to other pieces of evidence into the body of Trayvon Martin?
Yes, I did.
And were your measurements in scene diagram later provided to a member of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement in order to construct a computerized rendition of the crime scene?
Yes, it was.
And have you seen the computerized renditions of the crime scene in this case?
Yes, I did.
And do those renditions fairly and accurately depict the crime scene and the layout and location of the physical evidence at the scene?
Yes, it does.
All right, Your Honor, if I may approach the witness.
Yes, you may.
Let me show you first Officer 139. And just outside the presence of the jury, you recognize that?
Yes, could you
Yeah,
please?
Judge, I believe these were previously stipulated, so you're going to have to show them to me again. 139, do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
All right, and does that fairly and accurately depict the layout of the scene and the evidence within the scene when you arrived?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And states 140, is that just sort of a shot of the same area but from further out?
Yes, it is.
And does it include more of the buildings in the complex than the State's Exhibit 139?
Yes, it does.
Your Honor, may she step down
Yes, you may.
so I can publish this?
How would the court refer the counsel be positioned?
If you could go over by that podium, and you should be able to see.
Your Honor, does the quorum have a pointer somewhere, some sort of extended pointer that we can use?
No, I do not.
Madam Clerk, do you have? No? Okay. You can come on over. Officer Smith, let me put you on this side. Keep your voice loud enough so the court reporter can hear you. And if you would, states 139, just take the members of the jury through the item markers and the legend and just kind of refer back and forth, starting with item number 1.
Item number 1 is right here.
Let me get you to try to stand back just a little bit, just so this last juror can see. Thank you so much.
Item number 1 is up here.
All right, and that's depicted as what in your legend?
The keys and flashlight.
All right, and items 2 and 3?
Items 2, items 3, plastic bags.
All right, and 4?
Item 4, first aid kit.
To your knowledge, do you know anything about how that first aid kit got there,
I do not.
or where it came from? All right, item number 5.
Item number 5,
Is what?
I believe that is a flashlight.
All right, and is that indicated on the legend?
Yes, it is.
All right, and item 6, or marker 6, I should say, depicts what?
A victim's body.
All right, and do you have that in, is that identified in somewhat of a body, a depiction of a body?
Yes, it is.
All right, and item 7,
Item 7, a cell phone.
and 8.
Item 8, cartridge case.
Let me ask you to stay right there if you would. Yara, could you dim the lights? And Yara, would you inquire of the jurors if they can still see the screen without in the way? They can't, all right?
Can everybody see the screen? Yes,
Officer
okay.
Smith, let me get you to come stand over where I am. And again, please keep your voice up. We don't have a microphone, and the court still needs to hear you. State's Exhibit 3. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
All right, and can you show the members of the jury, first of all, is that an accurate depiction of the scene and the lighting conditions, other than the flash, of course, when you took the photographs?
Yes, it is.
All right. Can you show the members of the jury on States 139, the diagram, where that photograph is taken from?
I do believe it's taken from this angle here, going this way, so that would be west to east.
All right. States Exhibit 4, what's depicted in that photograph?
This is showing south. We are going to be standing on the other side of this T, right about here, looking down the T on the sidewalk.
All right. And I'm going to circle in red, is that the blanket that covered Trayvon Martin's body for perspective?
Yes, it is.
All right. States Exhibit 5, do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And show the members of the jury on the diagram then where that photograph, what that depicts.
If I'm not mistaken, that is standing right here at the T, looking down towards object marker number 4.
All right, and is the kind of the dog walk container or receptacle depicted in that photograph?
Yes, it is.
And show the members of the jury where that would be on the diagram.
I do believe it's this marking right here.
States Exhibit 6, from what angle or view is that?
This is looking at the corner behind 2861 and looking down the T.
And again, do we see Trayvon Martin's body in the blanket depicted in the photograph actually behind a raindrop?
Yes, yes, you do.
All right, State 7, what angle or view is that?
This is now standing on the T looking south, going this way.
And States 8?
Standing right behind object marker number 1, also looking south.
All right, and I'm going to circle that on the screen. When you refer to the markers, that's what you're referring to?
That's correct.
All right. And then States 9, is that a close-up then of exhibit number 1?
Yes, it is.
And I believe that's depicted on the diagram and from your testimony as the keychain with a flashlight on.
That is correct.
States 10, do we see item marker number 1 and then also item marker number 2 in that?
Yes, you do.
All right. And states 11, tell the jury what's depicted in that photograph.
This photo is taken from right over here, looking at object markers 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
All right. This is obviously 2. Is this 3 right here?
Yes, it is.
All right. And in the background, is that 4 up there?
Yes, it is.
All right. And then 5 and 7 are more visible, and 6 actually depicts the body, correct?
That is correct.
All right. States 12, what's depicted there?
Plastic bag, object marker number 2.
And states 13,
Plastic bag, object marker number 3.
and states 14.
First aid kit, object marker number 4.
States 15,
Showing relationship, object marker number 5 and 7 to object marker number 6.
all right, and 6 is the body. Remind the jurors what are objects 5 and 7.
Object marker 5 is a flashlight, and 7 is a cell phone.
State 16, is that a close-up of the flashlight by marker 5?
Yes, it is.
And state 17, does that simply depict the marker 6 in Trayvon Martin's body?
Yes, it does.
States 18 is what?
Object marker number 7, cell phone.
And states 19.
An Arizona T-can.
States 20, is that how Trayvon Martin's body appeared when the yellow medical blanket was removed?
Yes, that is correct.
And states 21, is that a close-up of Trayvon Martin's face?
Yes, it is.
And states 22.
Showing a photo pin.
Was that pin collected as part of your work in this case?
Yes, that is correct.
States 23,
Documenting a watch.
as well as Mr. Martin's left hand, wrist,
That is correct.
and states 24,
Documenting our victim's right hand.
and states 25. Is that a depiction of Trayvon Martin's body just from the other side now?
That is correct.
And states 26, does that more clearly capture the photo pin on Trayvon Martin's sweatshirt?
Yes, it does.
States 27, what's depicted there?
That is a possible projectile hole.
And in that photograph, has the gray outer sweatshirt been lifted up to expose a second sweatshirt?
Yes, it has.
And states 28, what's that?
That is a possible gunshot wound.
States 29, in that photograph, has the body of Trayvon Martin been already removed?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, and I'm going to circle a little yellow arrow, if you will, on the screen. Is there a purpose for that arrow?
Yes, there is.
And is that something that you or another member of the police department placed in the graphs?
Yes, that is correct.
And what's the purpose of the arrow?
To show relationship between object marker 6 to the cartridge case.
All right, and states 30, does that depict the cartridge case with the arrow?
Yes, it does.
All right, and if I circle it, is it right at the end of the pointed end of the arrow?
That is correct.
And it doesn't appear that the cartridge case is actually standing on end as it fell in the grass.
Yes, it does.
States 8, was that the marker that you used to depict the shell casing?
Yes, it is.
All right, and states 32, I'm sorry, Judge, I think I said states 8, I meant states 31, the prior photograph. States 32 depicts what?
a measurement of a cartridge case.
All right, states 33, show the members of the jury on the diagram, if you would, where that photograph was taken from.
This was taken from the front of this residence here, 1221 and 1211.
All right, and states 34.
Showing the front of the residence to 2861 and 2851.
And states 35.
Showing 2861 out front again.
All right, let me back up for just a moment. States 21. Do you see in that photograph depicted earphones or headphones in that photograph?
Yes, I do.
All right, and are those depicted essentially to the right and above Trayvon Martin's head?
Yes, that is correct.
All right. Let me catch up. States 36. Did you return the next day and take photographs in the daylight hours?
Yes, I did.
And that would have been on the 27th.
That is correct.
Okay. Is the ground and the sidewalk still wet in that photograph?
Yes, they are.
All right, and show the members of the jury again on states 139, the diagram, where that photograph depicts the angle or view.
It's going to be right over here. That would be west, on the west side.
All right. Shooting from west to east.
Yes, that is correct.
All right. In states 37.
It's going to be right here, following the T.
And again, the dog receptacle, dog package receptacle is in there.
It's right here.
States 38.
This is standing right above the sidewalk, looking down the T, going south.
And states 39.
This would be over in this area where object marker number 3 and 4 are roughly.
And states 40.
And that would be on the east side looking west.
States 41.
Also on the east side looking west.
States 42.
That would be the back patio of 2861 here.
And states 43, what area is depicted in that photograph?
You're looking right behind object marker number 4, which is here, looking north.
And states 44.
This would be right over by object marker number 5 and 6. And that would be looking east, going this direction.
Your Honor, would you raise the lights, please? Thank you. And just quickly, let me ask you, states 140, describe for him now how 140 relates to 139.
This is just a zoom out photo diagram of the previous exhibit. It just shows relationship to more of the buildings.
All right. Officer, or the deputy, or give me a hand with this. We'll move that. All right. Your Honor, may she stand down while we publish some exhibits?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. All right, Officer Smith. States 148, tell the members of the jury what it is and how you recognize it.
This would be the Arizona toucan shown in the photographs.
And how do you recognize it as the same?
It appears to be the same, and also the original packaging is attached to it.
All right, could you just kind of hold that up for them a little bit closer and maybe turn it around so that they can, there you go. All right, and when you arrived, was that on top of the yellow medical blanket?
Yes, it was.
All right. In states 145, if you would, tell them how you recognize it and what it is.
flashlight, which was object marker number 5 in the photographs.
And does that also bear the case markings from this particular case?
Yes, it does.
States 146. What is that?
This is the cell phone. That was object marker number 7 in the photographs. Also has the original packaging.
And states 142 and 143. If you could hold those up together. What are those items?
Object marker number 2 and number 3, 2 plastic bags.
And do those also bear the original packaging that you would have put them in before you took them in the property room?
Yes, they do.
States 144. Oops. What is that?
The first aid kit, which is object marker number 4 in the photographs. Also,
And a pair of tweezers. All right, and was that also in the original packaging?
yes, it is.
States 150. You recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize that to be?
$40.15,
And where did that come from?
collected from the victim's pocket.
All right. Let me show you next, states 149, that packaging. You recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And is that a composite exhibit? That is, it contains multiple items.
That is correct.
And are the items listed on the packaging itself?
Yes, they are.
And what items came from the packaging?
A red lighter, a photo button, bag of Skittles, and headphones.
All right. And is this the lighter that was originally in that package?
Yes, it is.
All right. And the photo button, is that the same?
Yes, it is.
All right. Package of Skittles.
Yes, it is.
And the headphones.
Yes, they are.
All right. States 141. If you tell the members of the jury what that is.
This would be object marker number 1, the keys, the small flashlight.
You recall whether or not that flashlight was on when you arrived or when you collected it?
Yes, it was on.
And finally, states 147. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize that to be?
Object marker number 8, the cartridge case.
How do you recognize it to be the same from the scene?
Same caliber, same brand, and also it's attached to the original packaging.
All right. Officer Smith, may you resume your seat? Thank you very much. Officer Smith, did you process any of the items by any means other than photography?
Yes, I did.
All right. Did you do any of that while you were still at the scene?
No, I did not.
And why not?
The weather conditions would not allow me to.
All right. Was Trayvon Martin's body removed from the scene?
Yes, it was.
And it was after that that you found the shell casing?
That is correct.
And how was the shell casing discovered?
By using a metal detector.
Did you search the scene in any way for blood evidence?
Yes, I did.
In what areas did you search?
I searched along the sidewalk, in between the buildings,
And how did you conduct that search?
using a flashlight.
You know, may I press the witness? Let me show you again, Officer Smith, States 139. Can you stand up for me? And just show the members of the jury generally what areas you searched for any blood evidence.
I walked along the T on the sidewalk, down the T, in the grass, and between all these buildings.
And you were using a flashlight.
That is correct.
All right. Did you, other than the area immediately surrounding the body, did you locate any blood at the scene?
No, I did not.
Did you locate any blood in the grass where the body was?
No, I did not.
And approximately how long were you at the scene that evening?
Approximately 2 hours and 45 minutes.
After leaving the scene, did you respond to the Sanford Police Department?
Yes, I did.
And about what time would you have arrived at the police department?
Approximately 11:15 p.m.
And again, this is still on February 26th.
That is correct.
All right. While at the station, did you take photographs of a person later identified to you as George Zimmerman?
Yes, I did.
You see that person in court this afternoon?
Yes, I do.
Can you identify where he's sitting or what he's wearing?
Over to my right, wearing a light-colored jacket and a plaid tie.
Your Honor, I ask that the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
The record will so reflect.
If I have Mr. Zimmerman, have somebody swap these batteries out. Was the defendant still at the scene at Retreat at Twin Lakes when you arrived?
No, he was not.
All right, so the first time you would have had contact with him would then have been at the police station?
That is correct.
When you photographed the defendant, did you have him do anything, clean himself up or position himself in any way, or did you just take photographs as he was?
As he was.
All right. States 45, do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, Judge. Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the defendant when you came into contact with him at the police station?
Yes, it is.
All right. And States 46, do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
Is that a close-up of the defendant that you took at the police station?
Yes, it is.
States 47, is that a further close-up of the face of the defendant that you took that evening?
Yes, it is.
And States 48, yet a closer shot of the defendant's face?
That is correct.
All right, States 49, what's depicted in that photograph?
The shoes?
And did you essentially, in photographing the defendant, take shots literally from head to toe,
Yes, I did.
front and back?
That is correct.
All right. States 50 then, what does that depict?
Showing the jeans and the shoes.
And States 51?
The jacket, undershirt, and belt.
States 52?
The backside of the jacket, jeans and shoes.
All right. And States 53?
The lower portion of the jeans and the shoes.
States 54?
The lower portion of the jacket and the jeans.
And States 55?
The backside of the jacket
States 56?
and the backside of Zimmerman's head.
States 57?
Just a close-up.
Of the back of his head?
That is correct.
And States 58?
Another close-up.
And States 59?
The backside of Zimmerman's hands.
States 60?
Zimmerman's right hand.
61?
left hand.
62,
Palm of the right hand,
63,
palm of the left.
and state 64.
Another front shot of his face.
And did you take several photographs of the defendant's head to preserve through photography any injuries that he may have had at the time?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, stage 65. What does that depict?
Showing possible blood.
And stage 66? Is that a shot of the right side of his head?
Yes, it is.
And stage 67, the left side of his face?
Yes, it is.
And stage 68, is that the left side of Mr. Zimmerman's head?
Yes, it is.
All right, stage 69, what's depicted there?
This is the top of his head.
And stage 70,
The right side.
from the top?
That is correct.
All right, and stage 71.
The right side.
And stage 72,
The left side.
stage 73,
The left side.
and stage 74.
The back.
Stage 75.
The right side.
Yeah, there are no more photographs. Thank you. While you were at the police station, did you also collect the clothes that the defendant had on?
Yes, I did.
And did you get those clothes from the defendant or someone else?
I do believe directly from the defendant.
And how did you package the defendant's clothes?
I gave the defendant paper bags to put his clothing items in.
And did he do that?
Yes, he did.
All right. And what did you do with the defendant's clothes after you collected them?
They were packaged and put into evidence.
All right. Your Honor, may I have the witness step down,
Yes, you may.
if you would? If you approach here. And again, I'm going to need you to, yeah, you can stop right there. We'll bring it out to you. States 151, does that appear to be the jacket that you removed from the defendant or that he removed?
Yes, it does.
All right, other than perhaps some cutouts that have been done for forensic purposes, is that a fair and accurate depiction of the way it appeared at the time?
Yes, it is.
Okay. If you would just come over a little closer. I'm going to ask you if you recognize the packaging associated with States 151.
Yes, I do.
Does that bear the case markings and your markings from the collection in this case?
Yes, it does.
All right. Can you put those back in there? States 153, you recognize that to be the shirt that the defendant gave you that evening?
Yes, I do.
And again, would you just examine the packaging? Does it bear your markings, the case number, etc.?
Yes, it does.
And States 152, those appear to be the blue jeans that the defendant gave to you.
Yes, they do.
All right. If you would just confirm that through the packaging.
Yes, I do.
You may resume your seat. Officer Smith, in your work in this case, did you process the defendant's firearm?
Yes, I did.
And where did you do that?
At the Sanford Police Department.
All right, and how did you come into possession of the defendant's gun?
I received it from Officer Timothy Smith,
And what kind of firearm was it?
a 9mm Kel-Tec.
Is that a semi-automatic firearm?
Yes, it is.
And had the gun already been secured, that is, unloaded when you received it?
Yes, it was.
Madam Clerk, may I have the exhibit? May I approach the witness?
Yes, you may.
Deputy, could I ask you to examine the State's 154 to determine whether or not it's been secured with a gun lock?
Yes, it is.
All right. Would you hand that to Officer Smith?
Thank you.
Officer Smith, do you recognize that exhibit?
Yes, I do.
And was that the gun and holster that you received from Officer Tim Smith in connection with this case?
Yes, it is.
And do you recognize the packaging, the case number, again, et cetera?
Yes, I do.
Could you hold up the firearm for the jury, please? All right, and the red piece that you're holding in your left hand, is that the end of the gun lock to secure the firearm?
Yes, that is correct.
All right. Did that gun lock, was that given to you when you received it from Officer Smith, or is that something that's been added later for courtroom security?
It's been added later.
All right. If you would then, please hold up the holster containing that exhibit. Thank you.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt. May we have the exhibit number, please?
I believe it's 154.
It is.
Thank you.
Officer Smith, did you wear gloves when you handled that firearm?
Yes, I did.
And why did you wear gloves?
To preserve any evidence?
Did you process the firearm in any way?
Yes, I did.
And how did you do that?
For which processing method?
Well, that's what I'm asking you. In what ways did you process it?
I process it for touch DNA and for latent prints.
All right. And when you say touch DNA, what do you mean?
I mean, it's touch DNA, meaning it's not like physical DNA, like the presence of blood. It's something that you may not be able to see.
All right. And how do you process an item for touch DNA?
Use a sterile swab with distilled water. You put that on the tip of the sterile swab. You swab the area for a few minutes, package it, and secure it.
All right. And did you do that with the firearm in this case?
Yes, I did.
And can you show the jury what areas of the firearm you processed for DNA?
Yes, I can. I processed the grip, which is on the back side, the trigger, and the back part of the slide here.
All right. And then what did you do with those swabs?
I submitted them into evidence.
And how many swabs did you collect from the firearm?
3 swabs.
All right. Did you also process the holster for touch DNA?
Yes, I did.
And did you do that in the same manner?
Yes, I did.
And how many swabs did you take from the holster?
Just 1.
All right. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes, you may.
Let me show you States 170. Ask you if you recognize that.
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize that to be?
The 4 swabs that I collected from item TS-1.
And how do you recognize it to be the same?
the object markers, my handwriting, and case number.
All right. You indicated that you also processed the firearm for latent prints. Tell the members of the jury which processing did you do first, that is the swabbing for DNA or the examination for latent prints?
I visually examined it for latent prints prior to swabbing for DNA. After swabbing for DNA, then I processed the rest of the firearm for latent prints.
Okay, why did you process it for DNA prior to using some physical component to process it for fingerprints?
The areas that were swabbed for DNA are less likely to have latent prints appear after processing them.
All right, and explain to the members of the jury, first of all, what is a latent print? What is meant by that?
A latent print is an impression that contains ridge detail.
And how is it that you're able to capture that or preserve that for future examination?
When you're using powders, it adheres to traces of fatty acids, amino acids, and proteins that are within latent prints.
And how do you use the powder to capture a latent print?
You take the latent brush, you put it in the powder, and you lightly brush the item.
And then what do you do? What's the next step?
And any areas of interest, then you take latent print tape, put it on the item, take it off, put it on a latent print card.
And do you mark the card in any way?
Yes, you do.
And how's that?
You mark it by the case number, the item number, what you're lifting the tape from, and draw a diagram.
And when you processed the firearm, in this case for latent fingerprints, were you able to lift any, to make any lifts onto a card?
Yes, I was.
How many?
Just one.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Let me show you States 183. Ask if you recognize that.
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize that to be?
The latent print card that I pulled from the firearm,
And how do you recognize it to be the same?
my case number, item number, and diagram.
Did you indicate on the latent card itself where the print was taken from the firearm?
Yes, I did.
And how did you do that?
I drew a diagram, circled the area.
All right. Your Honor, may she step down just briefly?
Yes, she may.
Officer Smith, if you join me over here. And again, keep your voice up, and so the court reporter can hear you, and show the members of the jury where on the firearm you took the latent print and how you depicted it on the card.
Here's a lift from the actual firearm. On the opposite side is my diagram and all the information, case number, item number, where it was lifted from.
Okay, and how is it depicted on the diagram where it was lifted from?
There was a circle drawn around it with an X in the middle of it.
All right. So hand that to me. You may resume your seat. Thank you. Officer Smith, so we're clear, is it your job, once you lift or make a lift of a latent print, is it your job to analyze it to determine whether or not it's of any value or whether or not it can be compared to any individual?
No, it's not.
Whose job is that?
That would be a latent analyst.
In a similar manner, when you take a swab from DNA, are you the person who goes on to process that, or is that done by someone else?
That is done by somebody else.
All right. Did you also process in this case the Skittles bag that was shown earlier, as well as the larger black flashlight?
Yes, I did.
And did you swab them for DNA in the manner that you previously described?
Yes, I did.
And again, is that something then that you would turn over to an agency such as the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for analysis of any DNA that may be on there?
That is correct.
All right. Did you also process the larger flashlight, the black flashlight, for latent fingerprints?
Yes, I did.
How did you do that?
I fumed it and then used black powder.
And were you able to obtain any lifts when you processed the flashlight?
No, I did not.
All right. Did you process any other items in this case for latent lifts?
Yes, I did.
Specifically, did you process the 2 plastic bags that we saw earlier, the white one and the brown one, as well as the keys that were connected to the flashlight?
Yes, I did.
And how did you process those items for latent fingerprints?
They were fumed and processed with black powder or magnetic powder.
All right, and what is it that you mean when you say fumed?
Fuming is a method where we use superglue. We put the items in a chamber, we ignite the superglue, it creates a white gas, and the gas will adhere to traces of the fatty proteins that we discussed earlier, and it forms to the ridges, making the latent print a little bit more visible.
All right, and were you able to obtain any latent lifts from either of the plastic bags, the keys, or the flashlight?
No, I did not.
All right. Your Honor, may I approach? Yes. States 169. You recognize that?
Yes, I do.
Are those the DNA swabs that you took from the Skittles packaging and the larger black flashlight?
Yes, they are.
All right. Let me turn your attention then to Tuesday, February 28th. Did you collect any evidence from the medical examiner's office on that date in connection with this case?
Yes, I did.
And when you collected those items, did you do anything to them? Did you process them in any way?
No, I did not.
Did you repackage those items in any way?
There might be a couple of them that I did.
All right. Was your goal essentially to transport those items from the security of the medical examiner's office to the property room with the Sanford Police Department?
Yes, that is correct.
I may approach the witness, Your Honor.
Yes, you may.
Let me show you States 164. You recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And what is that?
This is the watch that the victim was wearing.
All right. And can you just hold that up for the members of the jury? As best you can. All right. In States 191, is that a item of evidence that you collected from the medical examiner's office?
Yes, it is.
And specifically, are those the tools, if you will, or sticks that were used to scrape fingernail scrapings from Trayvon Martin?
Yes, they are.
And is that something that you did yourself or something that the personnel at the medical examiner's office would have undertaken?
The personnel at the medical examiner's office.
All right. Let me show you States 186. And what is that?
This is the FTA card.
And is that otherwise commonly known as a blood spot stain card?
Yes, that is correct.
All right. And was that also collected from the victim by the personnel at the medical examiner's office?
Yes, it was.
In States 165, what is contained in that exhibit?
This is the projectile.
Recovered from Trayvon Martin's body by the medical personnel at the medical examiner's office?
Yes, that is correct.
And you had mentioned earlier that you had made a diagram of the scene and then turned that over to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for the computer renditions. Let me show you 168 and ask you if you recognize that.
Yes, I do.
Is that the diagram and legend to the diagram with measurements that you completed in this case?
Yes, it is.
And is that the same copy or exact copy of the original that you turned over to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
Yes, it is.
Let's read those from you. Officer Smith, thank you for your time. Your Honor, that's all I have.
Thank you. Would this be a good time to take a break?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a 15-minute recess. If you'll please place your notepads face down on the chair and follow Corporal Debs back into the jury room. Okay, Officer Smith, we're going to take a 15-minute recess. That means you're allowed to walk around and get off the stand, but you're not allowed to discuss your testimony with anybody, and that includes the lawyers. Thank you. Court will be in recess for 15 minutes.
We have an extra 5. There's a matter that Mr. Zimmerman needs to deal with.
Okay, we'll take 20 minutes.